Fellas, we may just be at the end, and we've definitely over-dramatized things in the past, but things are not looking good for Bungie right now. An article on Bloomberg, recently posted by Jason Schreir, Sony's Bungie game unit cut 8% of staff after Destiny play wilted. 8%! It goes on to say that sales at the studio were running 45% below projections for year, and layoffs are a part of a bigger revamp at Sony PlayStation units. Now, Bungie's decision to cut an estimated 100 jobs from its staff of about 1,200 followed dire management warnings earlier this month of a sharp drop in popularity of its flagship video game Destiny 2. Just 2 weeks ago, executives at the Sony-owned game developer told employees that revenue was running 45% below projections for the year, according to people who attended the meeting. Chief Executive Officer Pete Parsons pinned the big miss on weak player retention for Destiny 2, which has faced a poor reception since the release of its latest expansion, Lightfall. The next expansion, The Final Shape, was getting good, not great feedback, and management told those present that they planned to push back the release to June 2024 from February, according to the people who asked not to be identified because they weren't authorized to speak publicly. The additional time would give developers a chance to improve the product. Now keep in mind, guys, this meeting happened 2 weeks ago, so this is after the reveal of The Final Shape, and a lot of us were wondering, had Bungie planned on pushing back The Final Shape during the reveal? And my thought process was no. You could definitely tell, like the entire vibe of Bungie was that they were rounding the corner and putting the polish on that expansion. At least that's how I perceived it. Now in the meantime, Parsons told staff that Bungie would be cutting costs, such as for travel, as well as implementing salary and hiring freezes. The people said everyone would have to work together to weather the storm, he said, leaving employees feeling determined to do whatever was needed to get revenue back up. But on Monday morning, the news got worse. Dozens of staffers woke up to mysterious 15-minute meetings that had been placed on their calendars, which they soon learned were part of a mass layoff. Bungie laid off around 8% of its employees, according to documentation reviewed by Bloomberg. Bungie didn't respond to requests for comment. Now, employees who were let go will receive at least 3 months of severance and 3 months of Bungie-paid Cobra health insurance, although other benefits such as expense reimbursement ended Monday, sending some staff racing to submit the receipts. Now, laid-off staffers will also receive prorated bonuses, although those were on a vesting schedule following Sony's Groups Corp's acquisition of Bungie in January 2022, and will lose any shares that weren't vested as of next month. Now, the layoffs are part of a larger money-saving initiative at Sony's PlayStation unit, which has also cut employees at studios such as Naughty Dog, Media Molecule, and San Mateo Office. TD Cohen analyst Doug Kreutz wrote in a report Monday that events over the last few days lead us to believe that PlayStation is undergoing a restructuring. Oh my God, I would imagine 8%? Now, PlayStation President Jim Ryan announced last month that he plans to resign, and many of the layoffs at Bungie affected the company's support departments such as community management and publishing. Remaining Bungie staff were informed that some of these areas will be outsourced moving forward. Now guys, this article is a big deal because it just gives us some context to what is happening at Bungie internally. We have been speculating. We even pulled Fallout into the stream yesterday and we speculated, but at the time it was purely speculation. The fact that revenue was running 45% below projections tells you how many pre-orders folks are not buying. They were probably expecting pre-orders to do much better. But if you remember, even though the reveal was hype and everyone was enjoying The Final Shape and seeing what's to come, you didn't have that luxury that Lightfall's reveal had. Everybody was hyped because of how good of an expansion The Witch Queen was. You didn't have to talk us into buying Lightfall. We just came off of a banger expansion, so of course we were gonna break out our wallets and get Lightfall. But since Lightfall launched, the reception was not good for that expansion. There were some good things that did come in Lightfall, but it was far from that Infinity War experience. Now, I can tell you right now, not only has revenue missed here, but I would say just my analysis of the community, lots of folks aren't really playing Destiny right now. You can even take a look at Google Trends and see, outside of course what's happening now, all the traffic revolving around Destiny 2 declining at levels we haven't seen for years. And you can imagine Sony looking at this after they put up $3.6 billion, they're probably like, yo, we made a terrible deal. This was a terrible investment. This is blowing up in our face. I do find it odd in this article though, that Pete Parsons was rallying the troops, but then turned around and cut staff by 8%. Talk about putting a damper on morale. The other thing that I'm sitting there scratching my head about is that if you need to get an expansion out by February, why cut staff? And I know the staff positions they did cut don't really cut into the development cycle, so maybe these are truly positions Bungie felt they needed to trim. But missing 45% on revenue, that is certainly sending panic both through Bungie and through Sony. Now, a couple tweets I want us to go over real quick, and this was actually posted by Paul earlier, just to kind of give us a little more context here. Starting with this first tweet. The layoff decisions came directly from Bungie management, not Sony. This is not about Sony replacing Bungie employees with their own people. Many employee benefits, though not health insurance, only last until the end of the month if you're let go. Laying people off on the 30th means a single additional day of coverage. Many employees had unvested shares as a result of the Sony purchase. These shares would be received based on staying with the company for a certain number of years following the sale. But those shares revert to Bungie if you leave, even if you're fired, which is what's happening now to many of those affected. Now, again, this is per a source that Paul pulled from, but this whole thing is extremely disturbing. This is screaming that Bungie is hurting for cash right now. They're going in mass consolidation mode to the point where they're trying to keep people from receiving their benefits or rolling over into November. And then when we talk about the unvested shares, my question is are the people that are getting laid off contractually, are they within that time frame? And are Bungie doing this to avoid having to issue shares? And then, of course, how many people were actually technically laid off? How many were fired? Again, that last sentence, those shares revert to Bungie if you leave, even if you're fired. So everything in between. It sounds like whether you're laid off, fired, or quit, those shares go back to Bungie, if it so happens before the end of your contract period. If this is sounding messed up to you, it's because it is. Now, Paul continues, many Bungie employees that were fired found out in the morning when they were locked out of services, logins, emails access revoked, and others who instead found out in meetings were told not to tell team members themselves, as teams would be told by other means. Many employees were unable to say goodbye or exchange contacts. Many team managers were not told at all about who on their team was being laid off and only found out as it happened. This one is even more disturbing to me because how do you know who you're letting go if the team managers themselves don't even know? As in, how does the higher-ups at Bungie know who to choose if you were to go through on a merit-based system and say, all right, I need to eliminate the weakest link of every team? This seems like someone from accounting made this decision, as if a CFO went there and said, okay, listen, we're not just going to get rid of people based on merit. Instead, we're just going to go through and see where we could save the most money. All right, this person has this many benefits. They'll be able to claim this many shares. Let's terminate them. Guys, tell me if I'm getting this wrong. Please, I hope I am getting this wrong, because that is terrible. More so than that was the way in which it was conducted. From Zavaler here, she posted this message up from a former Bungie employee. They said that this morning, my off day, I woke up to a text telling me to make my way to the office for an important meeting. When I got there, the news had already been broken. It was a nightmare. People were crying at their desks, packing stuff up, and I checked my email and got the unfortunate news. I wasn't even told in person. By the time I left my badge, everything had already been deactivated. I don't even know what I'm going to do at all. Now, if you're like Cross, this is only affecting junior level people. This has only affected people that have been at Bungie for a short duration. Guys, the Halo and Destiny 2 composer, Michael Salvatore, was also let go. Michael Sechrist, who wrote Deepstone Lullaby, was also let go. These are not just people that are junior level. Veterans are being let go here. People that have been with the company for years. Michael Salvatore actually reached out to Paul, saying, hi, Paul. Thanks for reaching out to me and for your kind words. The last 24 hours have been crazy, and I'm still sorting through my feelings. Many of my good friends were also let go, and I feel awful for them. My heart goes out to everyone who lost their job yesterday. Regarding myself, the overwhelming feeling I have is one of gratitude. Beginning in 1997, Bungie provided me the opportunity to contribute music to some of the most amazing games ever made. I've been truly blessed to work with so many awesome, creative people over the years. I've learned so much from them, not only as a composer, but as a human being during my time there. One of the things I've always loved about being a part of the team was our willingness to take risk, which has always been a part of Bungie's DNA. And when we would fail, we wouldn't retreat, we'd reload. That is at the heart of what kept me engaged year after year through success and failure. I truly wish for the best for my friends who are still there, and I have no doubt that they will be able to right the ship. To the fans, please don't hate on them. Give them a chance to blow you away, like they've done so many times before. Peace to all, Mike. Dude, what an absolute gentleman. I want to point out, though, the point he made right there. And when we would fail, we wouldn't retreat, we'd reload. Guys, I have seen some bad expansions come and go. Destiny 1 Vanilla had a rough launch, but it eventually got it right. Destiny 2 Vanilla was a very rough launch, and it took Forsaken to get it right, but we've had some weak expansions here and there, and some definite failures. And it's those moments that Bungie would reload, where they would have each other's back. When Activision came out and said that Forsaken underperformed, Bungie rallied together, and we as a community rallied behind them, thus resulting in them going solo. This right here is setting a new tone within Bungie's DNA. Call me naive, maybe this has been the tone for quite some time. Maybe that corporate tone has been here for years, and it's just taken me until now to see it. But I've seen Destiny almost die, and it's those moments that Bungie has brought us some of the best expansions ever. I'm okay with them pushing back the final shape to June, if that's what it takes to right the ship, if you will. I don't think any of us have a problem with waiting for the game to be the best it could possibly be, but just seeing how things are being managed. This is the most disturbing part of all of this. Having folks like DMG come out, who had previously left Bungie, and state the continued echoes of poor decisions made this feel avoidable. I don't know what's going on with the chain of command at Bungie, but it's clear that there is a problem. And if I was a betting man, I would actually say it starts at the top. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.